the vocabulary of the second movement is to a certain extent, you could say it could refer to the second movement of Fase, which was come out. All arm movements. No moving in space, basically upper body and movements by the hands and the arms. Quite some of the movements were coming from transpositions of the movements on the floor. For example, this movement on the floor becomes, for example, this movement. The movement on the floor, which was taking the breast, becomes here this movement. And again, there is a basic phrase existing of A, B, C, D, and an E. A being this, it's A. B. C. I repeat them in cells now. D, which refers to the first movement. And E, which is again the cherry on the cake. A, B, C, D, E, F.
The structure of the second movement appears the most intricate, the most difficult to read. It's almost like a texture.
Yes, it's quite complex. It's very contrapunctual. It's in that sense the same as the first movement, that there is a basic phrase divided into several cells, A, B, C, D, E, F. But those cells are not exposed as a phrase initially. There are actually 4 big sections, which are all subdivided into 5 different sections. So there is the basic phrase, as I said, A, B, C, D, E, F. And then there is section 1, section 2, section 3, yes, and section 4. And each section consists of one, what we call nodding.
That's in the beginning when you are turning to each other.
La tête. Yes, it's the very simple. Thierry gave us a rhythm in 2. Yes, in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta 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 ta. And in the very beginning, the very first opening movement is a very simple looking at each other and looking at the person with whom you're going to pair up. So it's going like all together, and then I'm going to watch first Michelin, because she's going to be my partner. And then I'm nodding to the other person I'm not going with, Fumio, and coming back. That idea of watching each other and sort of in a formalized way nodding is actually something that comes out Fase at the beginning of piano phase. We also, Michelin and I, we start, watch each other and nod. And that is actually an idea that comes from Steve Reich. Because in the phase shiftings, where they repeat the same pattern over and over again, and then one accelerates and the others till they're in a new rhythmical relationship, since they can't count, just to acknowledge to each other and to have a same rendezvous, the musicians will look at each other and nod and then move to the next
phase.
To the next phase. So that was actually something that came from there. So the first thing is the nodding. Yeah. Then is what we call les poses en éventail. The positions in fan. Les poses en éventail. Les poses en éventail is all those movements combined with a pose. And that pose is a very daily movement. For example, if that is a simple A, when I do it with a pose, it will be or second pose, third pose, last pose. I'm sorry.
So like images.
Like images, the movement is taken cell by cell, stopped, and interfered with very simple sitting poses, which have a certain simplicity, yeah, but who are sort of have a quite daily but emotional taste. The second movement opens with the nodding to each other. The dancers look at each other and pair up. Follows the pose en éventail. All four do A plus the pose. Then the first dancer, one dancer does B. The others join in the pose. Two dancers do C. All four join in the pose. Three dancers do D. And close all together with the E and the pause. So it's a kind of, what do you say, Busby Berkeley? It's the kind of Hollywood thing of, we do it with one, we do it with two, we do it with three, we do it with four.
Like a musical, like
a
fan.
musical, very simple, readable thing. It's a fan, yeah? That's the second section, the part. The third part is what we called, in French they say chipotage. And the chipotage is a very long counterpunctual structure, which is actually similar to the variations in the first movement. That means in the first section, it's going to be around A. In the second, it's going to be around B. And in the third, it's going to be around C. And what is happening? We do A en éventail, and then I'm going to put, for example, two A's. And I'm going to do A, C en éventail, A. Do you see?
Interpolation.
Interpolation. That's for one person. What is the second person going to do? It's going to do the same, but it's going to do more. And then it's going to go here. Yes? What is person 3 going to do? This person is going to go backward. He's going to do A and go E, D, going backward. And the fourth person is going to go in sort of unison. Is going to do 8 A's, for example. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You see?
I see.
You understand what we call the chipotage. Chipotage A. Person 1, 2, 3, and 4 do A stop, followed by 2 normal A's. person 1 is gonna do a B stop. Person 3 does a E stop. Now, person 1 and 2 continue with alternating normal A's followed by the following of a stop C. In the meanwhile, person 3 and 4 go alternating normal A's followed by C, stop, and continuing with A normal. Close the chipotage. Person A will do 1A, person 2 will do also A, person 3, and person 4, ending of the chipotage.
C'est assez compliqué. It's very complicated, but basically it's a big counterpunctual structure. Yes? That's the third section. The fourth section is simply the phrase that runs. Ta-ta-ra, ta-ta-ta-ra, ta, B, C,
In
D.
eventais, in fanning.
Not in fanning, even everybody unisono. Just running the phrase, just once. So to create a kind of clear, after all this counterpoint, so simple, phrase simple. And then, what do we have then? Is what simple éventail. It's something similar to these, but instead of with pauses, with simple phrase, with simple cells. Everybody is doing A, repeats A. And then the first person changes to B, second person changes to B, third person changes to B, fourth person changes to B, and the A is coming back. A comes back till we go from A to B.
This is an example of a simple éventail, but from B to C. All dancers going to C, and then B comes back. 1, 2, 3, 4. End of the éventail.
Very simple, also Hollywood. Yeah, you see, Aria, very readable. Aria, the movement moves from one to the other. And then the last one, my blackboard is too small. The last one is what we called the les pauses en éventail, les pauses, but retrograde. It means we're going to start with the E, B, D, C, with stops and with really pulling out the pauses. And after that section follows a long stop during one person is going to lay down one of the persons of the 4. So that is the
Marker between the big sections.
yes. It's a big stop to give it air, and one person is. Everybody is waiting. That whole structure is repeated for the A, then it's repeated for the B, then it's repeated for the C. We cut out the D because it became so fucking long. And because the E is a nicer movement. So the E is this movement. It's architecturally very strong. This one.
It's the most aggressive one.
It's the most aggressive one, but it has something from samurai, sort of and also of extreme pleasure. Yeah. Something between no passerán and an extreme ecstatic feeling. And this section is not done complete. After the chipotage, the phrase simple and the éventail, we go in a big apothéose again of all éventails of everything one after the other.
How are the dancers distributed? And I also would like to know, did you make this movement on the music?
Yeah, well, as I said in the beginning, the second movement, yeah, is really about all four and the division into two, really in pairs. That is basically, yeah, basic structural division. And the 2-2 is, you have dancer 1, dancer 2, dancer 3, and dancer 4. And you get, in the first variation, these two go together, and these two. In the second variation, you get this with this, and this with this. And in the third variation, you get this with this, and this with this. So always 2 and 2. The way it was made with the music was that we started to look on movements, and Thierry proposed a basic rhythm. And he gave a tape of loops, of one loop like ta 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 ta, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. So in 4 with the accent on the second beat, and this tape would go on and on and on, and so we could find all kinds of movements to that loop, and then try different counterpunctual combinations. Thierry made that loop with using the frame of the piano and using metal bars and beating on it, on the framework, which was actually a quite funny thing because it was a rented piano. So he was doing that with that metal stick, and then when at the ending of the rehearsal, when we had to give the piano back, we realized that the whole paint was coming off of the piano. So he spent the whole night painting all the strings of the thing. And then the next day, they came to tune the piano, but the guy who came to tune it was blind. So it was like...
all in vain.
It was like all in vain.